Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donoghue and Sonia Mansfield talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy. Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donoghue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Did I say cohort or cohort? Sorry about that, y'all.
Your cat hort.
My cat hort. We were talking cats just before this. We're hopeless.
I don't even have a cat, and I'm a crazy cat lady. So do with that what you will.
But we are the show that doesn't talk about cats that much. No. We talk about creeps from the past to the present. We have a literary creep today. A lot of people have been reaching out to us for this for a while. Finally was in a space that I could take this in.
Yeah.
I'm super psyched to talk about it. But just if this is your first time, just to let you know, we always end the show with someone who's not a creep. Either they're in the same field as that person. Sometimes it's somebody just from the same city that they were born in, because we have a hard time finding a non-creep, but we find them.
Yeah, we look for a connection, but I found someone in the realm. I got someone.
You did your job. I got someone.
I got you.
But we're always looking for suggestions for creeps and for non-creeps. So just giving you the social media stuff just to get it out of the way. We do have a basic Facebook page, but we don't really use it. It's a place where people go to complain about our language. Just saying ahead of time, top of show, we use salty language in this program.
Yeah, fucking deal with it.
If you want to interact with us and other cohorts, is what we all call each other, cohorts of creepitude, the best place to do that is the What a Creep podcast group. You do have to ask to join. Couple of questions. They're pretty simple. Do your best and come on in and we talk about creeps. We are also on Twitter at CreepPod, as long as that shit exists. I don't know. Yeah. That's because somebody had What a Creep there for 10 years and never used it.
Creep.
And then all the other social medias, it's What a Creep podcast. You can find us pretty easily. Please interact with us there. Also, we do have a basic old-timey email that works really well. It's whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. If you would like some stickers, wherever you are on the planet of Earth, we will send you some stickers. So if you email us with your address, let us know.
Suck at Mars. You don't get stickers.
Did you see that the U.S., we have a janky spaceship that can't make it to the moon? Like they had to bring it back? Yeah.
It figures.
Anyway, y'all, you're not here for space talk. You want to hear Sonia talk about her website. Go, Sonia!
I'm sure it's the only reason they tuned in. You can go to whatacreeppodcast.com, and it's everything you ever want to know about our podcast. We're afraid to ask. We have links to all of our past episodes, and in each of those posts, you can click in, and it's all of our sources, because we source every single thing we do. We're not making this stuff up, and we want to give people credit. If you're looking to do a deeper dive on any of our creeps, that's a great place to start. What else? We have our merch shop where you can get t-shirts and tote bags and face masks because the pandemic isn't over. So you could do that. And there's a link to our Substack if you would like to sign up there, where I put out our monthly newsletter. I just posted our newsletter this week. I was feeling particularly sassy. Enjoy. And there's a link to our Patreon. You want to tell them about that, Margot?
Patreon, if you want to help support the show. We don't make a lot of money from it. You can see for yourselves, but it just helps us with the basic cost of putting the show together. We have our first 8 seasons up there. One of those is a Charlie Chaplin episode that I'll mention in today's episode. All the creeps are intertwined with one another.
We also put out... Oh, sorry. Yes. I was going to say, we use that Patreon money to pay for all those sources because we like to pay people for their work.
We're one of those people. We also, what was I going to say? Oh, we put out 2 bonus episodes every month. But also on Patreon, you don't have to sign up to pay something. You could just sign up for the page. And we do post clips there because we realize that some people don't have Instagram or TikTok, and they'd like to see some of the videos that we talk about that we post on our Facebook page. So you can sign up for Patreon and just kind of check it out. Whatever. If money is tight, though, we totally get that. It's after the holidays. The bills are going to be coming in any second. TikTok. So thanks to all of you that leave us 5-star reviews on Spotify, Juliet, and Coco. Thank you both for leaving reviews. And we got 4 or 5 today. We had Susie Blue in Great Britain, Ava, Arden, Marianne without an E, and Amy from New Jersey. All of them left 5-star reviews. We were reading them to each other and cavelling because it made us feel really special. So thank you so much for doing that.
It helps us find our people. So thank you so much for doing that. And we get a lot of 1 stars from people who, A, complain about the language, or B, just don't like ladies talking into microphones.
This could be one especially because J.D. Salinger, I don't know if there's still freaks for Salinger, but we'll dive right into the show today.
Is that a group that exists? Freaks for Salinger.
Oh, you have no idea. I have friends from New Hampshire.
All right.
He was the author of Not to Kill a Mockingbird.
Catcher in the Rye.
Thank you.
Never heard of it.
Sorry. I'm looking at my Joyce Maynard page as I'm talking to you. Talk about him in a second. We're going to be talking about Joyce Maynard. She is an author. She had a relationship with this man when she was 18 and he was 53.
Ew.
There's a lot of creepiness that's going on here. And the reason for the jump in my mentality, please forgive me, it's that there's just so much that I want to discuss here. Some of it's about memoirs and women talking about their truth and what happened to them in their lives and how they get punished for that. On another show I work on called Book versus Movie, we're covering Priscilla this weekend. And I remember when Priscilla Presley released Elvis and Me, how many people were mad at her?
Yeah. How dare you?
How dare you say the king
and the
was
movie,
a meanie?
Yeah, the movie that's out right now is really, really great.
It's excellent.
Yes, I think it's available for rent right now. So if you're interested.
Christina Crawford, when she talked about her mother, Joan Crawford. When sometimes when people put out a story about their lives, Bing Crosby's kids, it doesn't necessarily women, but people get defensive and they're like, oh, it's a money grab and how dare you? This person is private. And that privacy is supposedly more important than anything else.
Which is not necessarily true. It's what it is also people get defensive because they want to like what they want to like and they don't. It's the same reason, like, if you say anything bad about Michael Jackson, people freak out. And it's like, dude, just listen to Michael Jackson. You're fine.
Yeah.
But also he was this. These two things can exist.
Yeah. Louis C.K. is one. We did one about Rosemary's Baby, Roman Polanski.
Yeah.
We got a 1-star review from that from somebody who's like, don't you know that his family died in the Holocaust? I'm like, yeah, we mentioned that. Yeah. He also raped little girls and drugged them. Like,
yeah.
Both things can be true.
Yes.
You know, I like Rosemary's Baby. I still watch it. It doesn't mean
I have things that I listen to or I watch that I know were created by people who were creepy. I think it's important to have that context, and they can exist for me. I'm not one-dimensional. I can have multiple thoughts. I can chew gum and walk at the same time.
And there's also this mythology.
I might fall and break my elbows, but
well, yeah. But there is this mythology about a creative genius, and you're not allowed to reinterpret anything they do, no matter how freaky or weird it seems to be. It's that's just part of their genius. This madness and genius. They're so tied together. You can't judge.
It's what we have to tolerate.
Can. This is going to be a little different today. I mean, we're going to be talking about creeps, but I'm going to read a little bit to you, a couple of things, and we're going to talk about two very interesting people. And we post in Instagram and on TikTok. I have a video on TikTok, and then people wrote to me. It's Joyce Maynard talking about her relationship, and they would say things like, "Oh my God, he was so brilliant. If he wrote to me, I would." I'm like, "Oh, for God's sakes, people, he was fine."
You're like, look, it's fine. Like, if they want to, whatever.
Yeah, let's just get into it.
Yeah,
let's see if I can get through this intro. Okay. In 1972, a teenager named Joyce Maynard wrote a New York Times Magazine piece, cover story, titled "An 18-Year-Old Looks Back at Life." Not kidding. The daughter of artistic, brilliant parents who had many issues and tended to treat her as an adult, she was precocious and a veteran of magazine writing by the time she graduated from high school.
That's bananas.
She's very precocious. Written during her first year at Yale, one of her fan letters was from 53-year-old J.D. Salinger, one of the most famous genius reclusives living in New Hampshire. The two had a correspondence which led to a relationship where she moved in with him, gradually shrunk herself away from the world until he carelessly dumped her 10 months later. Turns out she is not the only young person who falls under his romantic spell. He kind of does this a lot of love bombing from this man. Also, she has some messiness going on in her own life, and we will get to that.
Yes.
Just understand. There is so much to discuss here. The trigger warnings are grooming and also eating disorders. There's some talk about that. Both these people have them. Sources: Joyce Maynard's Wikipedia page, the New York Times article she wrote when she was 18. Once again, cover of the New York Times magazine. This is just...
oh my God, I would have been so jealous. Like, I wanted to write magazine articles when I was in high school, and I even had the gall to send things out. Like, I didn't even get rejection letters, and I was like...
She was taught, like, by her parents how to do it, like how to pitch, and we'll get to her.
Yeah.
There's also stuff she wrote for Vanity Fair. There's a New Yorker article about her. There's a New York Magazine article in 1998 called J.D. Salinger's Women, which is kind of making fun of. This stuff is messed up. Ranker, KQED, the documentary from American Masters of J.D. Salinger, Glamorous Trash, which is a podcast with Chelsea Devantez.
I love the
great
name.
Podcast.
I love the name. 2
of Joyce's books. If I look tired, it's because I've been up late reading these books. At Home in the World, 1998. That's her original memoir. And the follow-up was The Best of Us. That was from 2018. There's also an interview from The Guardian. It's with Peggy Salinger, the daughter of... Okay. And also a New York Times review of her book, Dreamcatcher, where she talked about her father and his various shit. Joyce Maynard first. She was born November 5th, 1953. She's from New Hampshire. And her parents are, her mother, they're both artistic people. He teaches at the University of New Hampshire, super intelligent. And they put in her, she was also a writer, but she was a ghostwriter and didn't always get credit for the writing that she did. So they were 2 people that were constantly, they had an older daughter, Rona, and she moves out of the house and goes to college and kind of like disappears from the family for a while. So Joyce is sort of left like to be the golden child.
Okay.
She's 5'6". At one point she weighs 90 pounds. It's very tiny. It's really
very tiny.
She doesn't go to the doctor. New Hampshire's an odd place. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's where a lot of libertarian ideas come from, is New Hampshire. It's one of the original colonies here in the States. A lot of people have old-timey signs. If you're European, you're laughing like old-time, ha, 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 because like... But in America, to see something from the 1700s is like, ooh, like it's very... Right. So a lot of people have old-timey signs there. And there's a lot of this liberty, give me liberty or give me death is a big thing. And it's a lot of just that rugged individualism. It's very white. It's close to Canada. It snows a lot. They have a couple of very big universities, a lot of like schools that people send their kids, rich people send their kids to. Lots of stories take place there.
Yeah.
So she grows up in this environment. Like I said, her father is a man who wishes that he were a painter, but instead he's teaching about art. And her mother wants to have more credit for her writing, and she doesn't get it. And what Joyce doesn't tell people is that when she's presenting herself, she gets this opportunity to write for the New York Times. And this is after she wrote for Mademoiselle, 17 magazine, like all through high school. And her way of doing things was she had a yellow notepad, and she would write out her story. She would then read it to her parents, who would write down on note cards their notes for her. And then she would type it.
Wow.
And it was always pristine. When she's writing about what it's like, she's like a boomer. She's a boomer talking about going to college.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things in the early 70s about the youth movement, because everything's about the boomer generation. Everything they did, you and I've heard this our whole goddamn lives until they all die off. We don't hear the end of it. But seriously, everything they think is important and all their cultural touchstones are so much better than everybody else's.
And as they pull the ladder up behind them, too.
That's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
So 18, she gets this opportunity. She also doesn't talk about is her father is an alcoholic, and it's really raining on the family, havoc on the family. Her mother won't talk about it. He gets really depressed or he gets very angry. And they're raised in a very repressive household. And a lot of people, I grew up in a house like this. A lot of people grew up in a house like, don't talk about our secrets.
No.
Everything's in the family. Keep it in the house. Don't let anybody know you have a problem. Don't tell anybody anything. Because everything gets solved that way. Right? As long as you don't know about it, you're fine.
Yes. It makes it real if other people know about it.
Exactly. It might be embarrassing. You might look like as less than a great parent or less. And this shame cycle doesn't fucking work. It's very destructive on people. So don't do that. I mean, learn to, nobody's perfect. It's okay. You know,
Yeah.
No family is perfect.
Work on your shit.
Work on your shit. Try to do better. Try to be better. Try to do better. So she's 18. She writes this thing and she's not talking about her dad. She's not talking about the fact that she starves herself to be this small to the point where she doesn't have breasts, where she's not menstruating. And that's another thing is like she's 18 and she's never been to a gynecologist or she hasn't talked about her period. And it could be she just doesn't get one.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why didn't your mother ask? Like this is,
Yeah.
by 18.
She was too involved in her own world to think about what her daughter's going through.
That could have absolutely been it. And this is also about her kind of disappearing and just think about this. She goes to Yale.
Wow.
She has roommates and stuff, but she goes to class and everybody knows that she was the girl that wrote that story in the New York Times. That she's the girl that has all those credits to her name and all the journalism professor. She's like the anger she could feel from the kids when she walked in was just immediate. Like, who is this chick? Her teachers were fawning all over her and she felt like a fraud. Like that whole, what's that expression?
She has imposter syndrome.
Thank you. Imposter syndrome is real and it will mess with your head.
Yeah. She thinks she got there because of her parents, probably, that her parents gave her all those notes. Also, we're just not taught to believe in ourselves.
Especially young women.
Yes.
Don't be conceited. Don't make a big deal about yourself.
You don't want to be considered stuck up. Like, who does she think she is writing those things and, standing up for herself or, sticking up, I guess, or sticking out.
Just being, we'll talk about this, but just being visible can be really, okay. 18 years old at Yale. And all of a sudden she gets bags and bags of mail sent to her dorm, which adds on top of the like, oh my God, like you stick out like a sore thumb because it's not what she was expecting. But one of those letters is from a guy who signs it J.D. Salinger. And he says, hey, I like your writing, but I'm really worried, fame is really upsetting to your life. And you don't want, you want to keep creative. You don't want to do the publicity machine. This is what you need to do. And this is to her. And she says she barely knew him. I don't know. I thought this book was like on everybody's list, even though I forgot the title like 2 seconds ago. But there was a time where we read A Separate Piece and Catcher in the Rye. Like there's certain books that we've read.
Yes.
Anyway,
maybe it wasn't in the curriculum back then, because it definitely was in the 80s.
Yeah, for sure. It could be it.
Yeah.
But it's a big deal to her because that guy's obviously famous and he knows how to write and he lives in New Hampshire too. And he's like, what's your day like? What do you have for lunch? What are your classmates like? What do you study? All the shit. And I sent you the picture and we put the pictures in the Facebook group and on all our social media. But Joyce Maynard, New York Times, 1973, just look it up. She is, like I said, 5'6" and 90 pounds. Mm-hmm. And she's all doe eyes, looks like a 10th grader, like looks young.
Yeah. Did he send her like a Kodak photo of his dick, like the old timey dick pic? Just wondering.
No, she doesn't know what he looks like because this is the thing with J.D. Salinger. Let me go back. Let me do a little dive into J.D. Salinger. So he was born January 1st. Sorry for all the people born January 1st. I know it sucks because nobody cares. 1919, Jerry Jerome was born in New York City, and actually he's half Jewish and grew up on Park Avenue. He had a very lofty lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Tall, handsome, He was charismatic. In the 40s, he is sent to war. He's writing in the 1940s before he leaves to go to war. He's writing to the New Yorker all the time. All he can think in his head, I got to get in the New Yorker. If I can't get anywhere else, I'm not going to even bother. I've got to be in the New Yorker magazine. It's just it's drilled in his head like that's the only thing that fucking counts. He gets there after he's in the war, but when he's in World War II, he's working. He's there on D-Day when that happens, and he's working in counterintelligence. So he has a few friends that he's really close to, but he sees a lot of stuff that's really horrifying, right? And he's working on his book, which would become Catcher in the Rye, and some of his short stories while he's there. And he even like stops like everyone, so they're driving, and he's like, I got to write something. And they got to pull over, and he's got to take out his, typewriter and start writing. That's just how he was. Before he left New York, he had fallen in love with Una O'Neill, and she would become the wife of Charlie Chaplin, which we talked about.
Yes.
Okay. Una was 16. Jerry was like 20, 21. And she was a very sophisticated 16. This is like a different time. But she's absolutely beautiful. Whenever people talk about Una O'Neill, she's just breathtaking and smart and funny and very alluring to men. And he was, Jerry, he was convinced he was going to marry her once he got out of the war, once he got back. And he would like brag, like, that's my girlfriend. See this picture? That's my girl. She's going to marry me. She dumps him for Charlie Chaplin. And
womp, womp.
Womp, womp, womp. So Jerry's kind of sore about that shit. So Jerry comes back and he starts writing like crazy. And he has his first short stories published. It's called A Perfect Day for Banana Fish. And this is in 1948.
Yes, his other story, Fuck Charlie Chaplin, was not published.
And again, I need to say something that he is someone who's Jewish and he's in Germany and he's working in counterintelligence. He's been dumped by his girlfriend. He's feeling kind of low. And then he falls in love with a woman while he's working on uncovering the secrets of the Gestapo. And he impulsively marries this woman, a German woman, like nationalistic German woman. And his friends are like, dude, you think this is a good idea? You can't talk him out of it. He loves her, blah, blah, blah. He brings her back to America. Turns out she's a Nazi and she's super anti-Semitic and gets drunk at parties and says really shitty things.
Wow, seems like something maybe you would like to know before you married that person. Did he try talking to her at all before they got married?
It's very much like a Coco Chanel. We talked about Coco Chanel would get drunk at parties and then say anti-Semitic shit. And so he dumps her.
Like you do. Like
one does. Now, I want to just quickly pivot to a family story. My uncle Jerry, my dad's uncle, served in World War II. He was captured in the Bataan Death March, which is in the Philippines. And he spent 3 years in a occupation camp, in a prisoner of war camp. Yeah. And Jerry was always like my favorite uncle. He was so sweet. He was so nice. And I didn't know until years later that he spent time in a mental hospital because of what he'd been through.
Yeah. Well, it's awful.
And it's
understatement.
Well, I mean, the difference between the Philippines and the Japanese camps versus the German camps, from what I understand, I didn't serve in either, obviously, but they were especially vicious. And it was actually, they created competition amongst the prisoners. So he never really felt like war buddies he could hang out with and talk about things. So that's that extra level.
Okay.
So he was liberated in 1945, and they bring him home to Inwood, New York. And then he gets sent to the Veterans Hospital. And then this is the story that just came up in my Ancestry feed. Jerry Kiernan, 28, Inwood, survivor of the infamous Bataan Death March today, was back in the Veterans Hospital here facing a new fight to regain his health after running amok with an axe yesterday in his mother's home. He came home from the camp and he was sent to Northport Hospital. All of a sudden they discovered he was missing. He'd been there for 2 years at this point. At 1:21 a.m., they found him at his mother's home Inwood, New York, with an axe and a razor blade. And this house is very narrow. I went to this house all the time when I was little. It was very narrow with a lot of steps and stairs. So he was chasing her around.
Oh my gosh, that's so
and the cops came, and they had to they able to disarm him, but not before he broke a bunch of mirrors and windows in the house and cut himself. So it's scary. I just read this week. I never known about this story. Yeah. I don't know if my parents even knew, but war is hell, as they say, and it does a lot to you. And my uncle was a very kind, I'm sure there's some amount of like what he saw and what was upsetting. And then he comes home and then it turns out his wife's a Nazi. Boop. Oh. Yeah. No. So when he's 30 years old, he goes on vacation in Florida. They're Daytona Beach, Florida, and he's pale as a sheet. He's always really skinny. He's tall, like 6'3", and really, really slim. And he's hanging out on the beach, and that's when he notices a 14-year-old girl and strikes up a conversation with her. And I'm not going to mention all these names because yeah. But he sort of like talks up. He sees that she's reading, the Jane Austen book, and he's like, "Oh, how's Heathcliff doing?" She goes, "Oh, he's doing fine." And they write back and forth for years. Mm-hmm. And then when she turns 18, he takes her out. And then
how nice of him to wait until
until she's 18, and then they have sex, and then he dumps her the next day.
Cool.
He then meets another 16-year-old, and he marries this woman. Her name is Sylvia. Claire Douglas. Sylvia was the Nazi. Claire.
Sorry. Do you think that's like first date shit? By the way, you should be asking like. You Nazi?
Do you goose step? Like, what is your thing?
Yeah. Ask that on the first date, y'all.
He marries a woman named Claire Douglas. He meets her when she's 16, then he waits a couple of years and he marries her. And then she has his daughter, Margaret. Poor Claire goes nuts because she's from New York, and then they move to New Hampshire, and he lives in the middle of nowhere. Like, he's just in a van by the river. Like, it's a few years after Catcher in the Rye. And he's really caught on. Like, this is an important work, and he's, so he's now getting money. It sells like 250,000 copies a year or something like that still. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yes.
So he's super rich, and he decides, like, he can't be around people. He has to be in the woods and down by the river, whatever. He's always, like, looking for, like, he gets into Scientology for a while. He gets into Hinduism for a while. He's just always looking and searching and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Claire gets pregnant with Margaret, who they call Peggy, and he becomes turned off by her because she gets all big and pregnant-like.
Yeah, nothing. What a boner killer.
A total boner killer.
When your wife gets pregnant with your child, what a bummer.
And And he just turns off from her. A few years later, they have their son Matthew, who is one of the mean sorority guys in Revenge of the Nerds, amongst his many credits. I'm not kidding.
Oh, really?
Yes, Matt Salinger.
Nerds.
Exactly. One of Stan's friends, in that movie. They divorce in 1967, and when he's over somebody, he's like, peace. I'm done. But he actually buys her a house down the street so that the kids can stay there and also stay with him. Yeah. He also sends Peggy off to school all over the place. And
Who doesn't want to be neighbors with their ex-husband? Sounds dope.
Doesn't that sound great?
Yeah, I would love that. Eye roll.
This is a thing. Like, everybody's like, he's secluded. He doesn't want to be bothered. And then the way you're thinking, I would think about is like, oh, he probably has PTSD. He really needs to manage his life. He needs to be. No, he's just a fucking weirdo. He comes to New York all the time. He flies all over the country for things. Mm-hmm. When his kids are high school age, he starts hanging out at the high school and starts drinking with teenagers.
Ew. No. He's a cool dad.
He's the cool dad. He's also very obsessed with thinness, and it doesn't transpose itself on his son because his son turns out to be like 6'4", 6'5", and like they can eat, teenagers, they can eat everything and no big deal. But of course, Peggy gets lectures and stares. Oh, are you
Yes.
eating that? You know,
My favorite. That's one of my favorite things. You eating that?
you eating that?
You'd be so pretty if you lost a couple pounds. You'd be a
It's
10.
a lot of.
You'd be a 10. But
It's
now
a
you're
lot of him telling her, you know, he loves his kids, but it's a
Yes.
lot of like, why can't you be more this or that? Like
Right.
he constantly, when he's disappointed in somebody, it like emanates from him like a fart. Like you're just like, oh God, he just is disgusted by you. Yeah, I didn't poot, Sonia did. Anyway, so Joyce enters the picture. Like I said, this is his pattern. She's 18 years old and they're writing back and forth. And she's just like, holy shit balls. I'm writing with. Now, when this is first happening, she gets a job at the New York Times for the summer in between her freshman and sophomore year. So the editors of the New York Times say, hey, one of our guys works in the Hamptons all summer. You can have his office. And he's like a top editor. So it's like a really nice office.
This
and
is
then
amazing.
a couple
This shit never
writes to her,
happens.
this does not happen. And then a couple, and she's an editorial person. They're like, just write what you want. What?
It's like
It's the youth beat.
This is my dream of what I wanted when I was like, I'm going to write for a newspaper and I'm just going to write whatever I want and I'll have an office and bleh, like that, like a dream.
Okay. New York City.
Yeah.
There's a couple, a psychiatrist couple that really enjoyed her story in the New York Times, and they start a correspondence with her. And she says, oh, I'm looking for a place to stay in New York because I got this job for the summer. And they said, don't be silly. Do you like dogs? Why don't you stay at our place and you'll take care of our dogs? And she's like, oh, okay. It's on Central Park West. It's this huge, she has to take an elevator to her bedroom. And these two adorable dogs.
Is she the creep too?
No.
I'm so jealous right now. I'm overwhelmed. I have to like put my head down.
No rent. No rent. She's getting paid to do whatever the fuck she wants. Whatever she wants to write something, she goes home and she writes it out on her notepad, and then she comes back and then so she sends it to Jerry, and he reads it. And they start this correspondence. He goes, oh, that was good, but you could have done this better. And but he's like, oh, I'm missing you. I'm missing you. I need to meet you. They meet up. Mm-hmm. Her mom makes her dress for her. It's this A-line dress, and she's so skinny, it doesn't even need darts on it. Like, it just fits, right? They meet, and his kids are staying at the house.
They're all older than her, probably.
The daughter, she's 18. The daughter's 16.
Okay.
And the son is like 14 or 13. Mm-hmm. So, real appropriate.
Yeah.
The day after she arrives, and it gives her food, and it's like, here's some granola. He only eats lamb burgers cooked at a certain temperature and not hot. He doesn't believe in cooking food because that kills the nutrients. He thinks he's an expert, okay? I'm not kidding you.
It's how you get diseases, but that's cool.
It is how you get diseases. Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
And he says to her, and he just feeds her like, here's a little bit of grain toast, here's some honey, and a little bit of cheese. He goes, but normally I don't have cheese because cheese is bad.
Here's 2 peas and a knife and a fork.
And he would ask her quite often what she had for lunch. And her lunch usually was 1 broccoli floret and a cup of yogurt. I would pass out. So they spend this one night together. She sleeps in the room with her daughter. Her daughter has like twin beds. Mm-hmm. And then the kids leave the next day. And then she and Jerry are going to have bound chicka wow wow time. Because what's bigger turn on to an 18-year-old than a 53-year-old man? Like,
she's so young and like almost the same age as his daughter. And he's like, that's cool, super normal. And I'm into it. And that's awful. Ugh, yuck.
And this is going to be kind of, I'll be as not vulgar as I possibly can.
Yeah.
But basically when he tries to penetrate her, her vagina shuts down and she can't. Right. Yeah. What people think like rape doesn't exist because women could just do this naturally to defend against it.
Yeah.
This is actually what's happening. And he's like, what's going on here? And she's like, I don't know. I'm so sorry. And he's like, it's okay. We'll figure it out.
She probably hadn't even had sex.
She was a virgin.
Yeah.
She said she was a virgin. She's a virgin.
Yeah.
So they have sex, like oral sex. Well, I'm sure she gave him handies and okay. He leaves her there and he takes her back to New York, and then he keeps calling her, and they're calling and they're talking, and he keeps like, oh, I miss you. Why aren't you here? Love bombing, we call it now. Like, I've never felt this way before. I'm so worried about you. Oh, by the way, Sonia, while she's there, she's negotiating with Doubleday editors, and she gets a contract to write her life story, write her memoir, first memoir, 19.
I'm just jealous. That's all.
It's sick jealousy. $20,000, which in 1970 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
They're going back and forth. He drives down to pick her up in a pickup truck, puts the dogs in the back. They go to New Hampshire. They hang out. He's like, I miss you. I miss you. Why are you not here all the time? He says, you need to be here and finish your book anyway. Why don't you come here and quit your job and come here?
Let me not feed you.
Oh, for breakfast, they get peas.
Nice.
There's something I need to mention. This is the ED part. I mean, this is all ED, but one night they go out for pizza with Matthew, because Matthew loves pizza. He loves cheese and all that. All the great things about pizza, the cheese and the hot and the pasta, the bread part, the crust. They eat this pizza together, and then they come home, and then he goes to his room, and then they go to their bedroom, and then he shows her how to make herself throw up.
Oh, that's so awful.
Which is not something that was in her arsenal, to maintain her weight before. And that can give you so many other problems, but that's what he's teaching her how to do.
It's awful.
So they have these shared secrets together. She tells him about her alcoholic father. She basically is like, I don't know if I can have sex. Like, she's really being vulnerable. And he's playing on that.
Yeah.
So by August, he convinces her to quit her job at the New York Times, and she gives up the apartment to a friend to take over.
Never do these things.
She goes to his place in New Hampshire. It's August. It's blissful. She still can't really have sex very well, but other than that and the lack of food, it's great.
She obviously, by the way, has some sort of trauma that's like happening. This is why this is happening. Yeah.
She's going to be going back to her sophomore year in college. She gets an apartment near the Yale campus, and he's like dropping her off going womp womp, and she's buying, chintzy stuff to fill up her apartment. And she goes there the first day and it's like, fuck this, I don't want to go here. She drops out of Yale and she moves in with Jerry.
I'm not, look.
We've all made bad decisions in our lives.
We've all made bad decisions. We all make bad decisions, especially in college. It's kind of what you do when you're in college. Again, this is me coming from a place of pure jealousy that she is like given all the things that like I would have loved to have had when I was her age, and she's like making these poor choices, and I feel terrible for her that like she's walking away from opportunities for this man.
She lets it be, he lets it be known. Like, I don't want people to know where I am. I don't want people to have my number. But at the same time, he does hang out with people, and they do have his number. He doesn't want to talk to the press. So that's understood. But then he tells her, you shouldn't be talking to the press. Like, they're talking like, we're going to publicize your first book. We need to set up these interviews for her. And he's like, don't do interviews. They'll just ruin you. And they're trying to explain to her, you can't just sell a book without any publicity.
Yeah.
He doesn't even want her to take an author photo. He says, that's going to cheapen your work. And she says to him, that's how you found me, was from my photo.
Yeah.
But he doesn't answer that.
No. Well, so some of this is control. Like, he just wants to control.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, like, I wonder how much of it is he's jealous.
Yeah.
He doesn't want her to, like, succeed.
He wants to be the famous one. He wants to be the talented one.
Right.
And he's like telling her all these bad advice. Like, don't do interviews. Don't make yourself available. All of this is beneath you. Yeah. None of this is beneath you. Okay. Just publicize the hell out of your shit.
It's like the stuff you have to do. It comes with the job. What a fucking creep.
Yeah. He's an asshole. they're living together, and now that they're fully living together and she's in writing mode and he's in always writing, he just hasn't published anything in years. 63 is the last time he publishes something.
Okay.
So it's like 10 years at this point. But, I mean, he's starting to get grousy about her. Like, why did you make banana bread? You spilled dough over here. And why did you do this? And why did you do that? And just very picky, pick. They don't celebrate her birthday. They don't celebrate Christmas because they don't celebrate it.
Because there's cake? Is that why?
I don't know. But her birthday's November. And once again, his birthday is January 1st.
Yeah.
They celebrate his birthday.
Ew, come on. Come on. Ew.
They go on a vacation, and this is like 10 months into the relationship. He always is prescribing her herbs, and like today they would say essential oils. Remember like homeopathy was like pellets?
Yeah.
You'd take like a dozen pellets. He's constantly trying to figure out what her problem is and how to fix her. Never goes to a doctor.
No, why would you do that?
No doctors. He flies her to Florida, Daytona Beach, with the kids for spring break. And part of the visit is he's going to have her visit an expert, and it's a woman expert that's going to help her area. They're going to do acupuncture, and that's going to fix her. And the woman looks at her and says, I've never seen anything like this before. I don't know if I can help you. So they go to the beach.
Wow.
And J.D. Salinger's sitting next to her. They're in their chairs, and the kids are in the water. And he says to her, this isn't going to work out. I think, I don't want any kids. I don't know if you can even have them, but I don't want any kids. This has gone along far enough.
I'm sorry. You don't want any kids? Why are you dating kids?
He says to her, I'll give you some money, but you need to take the next plane out and move out before the kids see you move out, because it'll be upsetting for them.
What a piece of shit. Also, girl, run.
She moves out. He sends her home with like $100 and get a plane ticket and get out of here. She moves out. She moves in with her parents. She's calling him all the time, and he's getting more and more annoyed with her and short with her and upset with her. And her mom is like, come on, go back to college, do something, like get over this asshole. But she has a really hard time doing that. So it breaks off. She does get married in 1977 to a man named Steve Bethel, and their relationship is really up and down. They have 3 kids, and they live this life. She buys herself a house in New Hampshire, and then she and her husband live there. They have 3 kids, and it was like, I think all the kids were C-section. I don't remember what, but at some point, it's not until she's in her 40s that she actually goes to a gynecologist because she's having too many issues. Yeah. Like she had 3 kids.
Yeah.
And it turns out like she just needed a little bit of surgery and it would have been fine.
Oh,
I know. It just breaks my heart.
All
that time. But but she was made to feel lesser than.
Yeah. And broken.
And who's going to want me? And she writes a lot of magazine articles. She's always hustling. She writes a bunch of books. One of them's called To Die For, which becomes the movie that Nicole Kidman's in.
Yes, it's
Gus Van Sant.
Such a good movie, by the way. I haven't read the book, but the movie is
The movie's really fantastic. Yeah, I want to read the book. And somewhere around 1998, so she gets divorced in 89. She moves to the Bay Area with her kids. So she's living in Mill Valley for a while. Mm-hmm. And like I said, magazine writing and tons of that. And then in 98, for whatever reason, she's finally like, I need to just write my story. Oh, let me tell you. Sorry.
Yeah.
When the movie To Die For comes out, it opens at the Toronto Film Festival. This is 1995. This is a big fucking deal.
Yes.
Toronto Film Festival is, right. So she goes, and her sister and her husband live in Toronto, and they have this huge house. And she says, hey, do you want to go to the show? I'm going to get us tickets. And her sister says, great. And she says to her sister, can I come with the kids? Can we stay at your place? And her sister says, oh, I didn't think of that. Let me get back to you. And then she calls her the next day and says, yes, you and your kids can stay here, but we're going to stay at a hotel. Right.
Sorry, y'all can't see. I cocked my head to the side like a dog that heard a strange noise. Huh?
because her sister, like they have a talk and she's like, well, I feel like you hate me sometimes. And her sister says, no, but you just take up a lot of space. So there's a lot of stuff that anxiety she exudes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think it's like 98. She's getting really tired of this shit. Like, what am I hiding from? What am I like? Why can't I tell my own story?
Yes.
So she tells her own story in 1998 at home in the world. And she talks all about Jerry and what they've been through. And the whole world freaks the fuck out on her. How dare you talk about their eating disorders and your vagina problems.
No,
and how dare you rat on this wonderful man.
Dude, fuck that. She's allowed to tell her story. This is a garbage take.
It's a huge garbage take, but she gets it for years. And even like the New York Times, all these women reporters, women could be just as awful.
For sure. Sure. Because again, you gave us
supporting
the
patriarchy.
Yeah, you gave us a trigger warning of grooming. A lot of women have been groomed to support the patriarchy and want to be considered cool girls and shit on other women.
And this is something that she talked about later, and I'm just going to read to you from her book. Even now, it seems there are many who would say it remains a woman's obligation to protect the secrets of a man for the simple reason that he demands it. More than that, it appears to be a matter of some dispute whether a woman has the right to tell the truth about her life, and if she does, whether the story of a woman's life is viewed as significant or valuable. The most powerful tool most of us possess is our own voice. Take that away, and what do we have?
I need to read this book.
I think you'll like it.
That really, really resonates with me.
Yeah. It gives you some feels, right?
Yeah, it does. And it is not our job to protect abusers, for one, and to protect, I don't know, men's feelings. We talked about this in the bonus episode about how we're not doing like polite laughing at men's sexist jokes anymore. Like that's not what we're doing. And good for her for telling her story and her truth. And too fucking bad. He was a creep. And if you don't like it, well, I'm sorry that you don't like, well, I'm not sorry, but that's your problem.
It's
Sounds
on
like
you.
Yeah, that's a you problem. You can still read Catcher in the Rye. That character's a dick too, but whatever. You do you. Enjoy.
This is another one. Raised myself in a household in which painful experience was not freely discussed. I believe that a person's best source of strength and protection resides in her ability to speak openly and without shame about the real events of her life. And
Which
Joyce,
book is this, by the way?
This is At Home in the World. Get the latest edition because
it's down.
Yeah, I think you need this.
Okay.
I was up late reading this. It's a good read.
All right.
And she had people, like she has a website and people wrote into the website, how dare you? And this is another one she got. How do your kids handle you writing about these things? A grown-ass woman can't write about her sex life. You know, a man can do it and nobody questions it for 1 second. Philip Roth was never asked, like, you know, how his family feels about his sex scenes, but she can't talk about what really happened to her.
Yeah, and this is typical and the typical shit too. Like when women are in positions of power, it's like, well, how do you balance parenthood and working? It's like, do you ask dudes that? Never. They never ask dudes that. It's just the same old bullshit. And she is perfectly within her right to write these things. And it's not your fucking business how her kids feel about it. And that's between her and her kids.
She's supporting her kids, by the way, with this writing. Like, this is how she makes her money, is writing. And they try to tear her down, say her writing was crap and that she was just she was using J.D. Salinger for her own gains and how dare you and all this shit.
She gained a lot of shit without J.D. Salinger at a very young age.
Yes.
That is such a shitty take. And then for people to think that somehow her writing about the truth would harm her children is also a fucking disingenuous take, because
it's a bullshit take.
The truth they deserve to know the truth, and it's okay for them to know the truth. And she can talk
give
about
birth to them without
Yeah.
sex? And she's their natural mother, so I know.
And, anyway, yes.
All right, so I'm going to fast forward quite a bit here. She also talks about the Woody Allen and how triggering that was for her, that documentary. She gets married in 2013 to a man named Jim Barringer, and this is her second memoir that she wrote.
Okay.
And in this one's a little more,
Okay.
She talks about they were very much in love, and they were very tight, and he was a good guy. He gets pancreatic cancer and dies. So she's a widow. Her kids are grown up. And then Joyce gets the idea, I really miss being a mom. And she visits... where does she visit? Anyway, she goes to Guatemala, for these writing retreats, and she sees people go all the time to adopt babies, and then Guatemalan babies were like really hot for a while, and then that got shut down. So she goes to Ethiopia, and she has her eye on 2 girls to adopt, a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. Their family was wiped out by AIDS, and these kids need a home.
Sad. Yeah.
It's terribly sad. And everybody warns her, please don't do this, Joyce. This is too much. You're taking on too much. This is a lot of work. You're talking a whole other culture, teaching a language. Joyce is like, nah, I'm doing it. And 14 months later, she abdicates her motherhood to them and gives them over to another couple.
Oh. Because
she thinks they need a daddy. I know.
What does that mean? Like
it's too much work for her. It's a lot of work. She can't handle their black hair. Like a woman comes up to her, a Haitian woman comes up to her and goes, "Do you need help?" Because the girl's hair was all over the place, and there's just a lot of stuff.
You just take them to a salon.
Well, she does, but it's still. She just feels like she's in over her head.
Yeah. So when she says like they need a daddy, what she really means is 2 parents. Like it doesn't even.
I think she really means like 2 parents who could take on this load and also have other kids.
Yes.
And like a Mia Farrow situation. Like there's a lot of them, and I think, and so the girls move to the Midwest, and she hears from them a few years later, and they're doing fine.
Oh, that's good.
It's messy. It's not great.
Yeah.
She's not perfect. Anyway, Sonia, my throat is giving out on me.
Yeah, it's okay. First of all, we don't expect people to be perfect. Like people can make mistakes, and it sounds like these girls are okay, and that's great.
And that's all I'll say about it, because I don't.
Yeah, your throat's giving out on you.
My throat's giving out on me. So that's our creep this week, Sonia. J.D. Salinger.
You did a fabulous job on this. It's so good.
Thank you.
I did not know any of this. I'm fascinated. My friend, do you want to hear about someone who's not a creep?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I settled on Toni Morrison. Do you know who Toni Morrison is?
Of course I do.
Yeah, I suspect you've covered her books in Book versus Movie. For y'all who don't know, she's the first African-American woman to win the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1993. She has authored 11 books, including children's books and essay collections. Her most famous is Beloved, which won the Pulitzer Prize in 1988. Her books have been critical and commercial successes. Beloved was a movie, came out in 1998. You know, it was one of those big Oprah books. You know, so many of her books have been Oprah books, but her works have been praised for talking about, you know, the consequences of racism in the United States and the Black American experience. They're always on the New York Times bestsellers list. She was also a faculty member at Princeton, and she lectured all over the world, all over the country. So let's talk about how she kind of got started. She is Chloe Wolford. I hope I said that right. She was born February 18th, 1931 in Ohio, about 30 miles west of Cleveland. She was the second of 4 children. She grew up in a semi-integrated area, but there was a lot of racism. It was in the area. It was kind of a constant threat. When she was just 2 years old, the owners of the family's apartment building set their home on fire while they were inside because they were unable to afford their rent.
Jesus.
I know. She was a very good student, like an avid reader. She was on the debate team in high school, yearbook staff. Like, she worked with the head librarian at the public library in her town, which I love. She graduated from Howard University in 1953 with a BA in English. She went to Cornell University. In 1957, she got married. She went back to Howard University to teach, and she got married to this man named Harold Morrison, hence Toni Morrison. Mm-hmm. And he was an architect from Jamaica, but they divorced in 1964. She really doesn't talk about her marriage that much in any of her interviews. She just said that he wanted a traditional 50s housewife, and that was something she wasn't ever going to do.
Nah, I'm Toni Morrison.
Huh?
No, I'm Toni Morrison.
No.
Yeah,
she's all, I'm not, with me. Yeah, I'm not doing that. So she took their kids. She has 2 kids, 2 sons, and she moved to New York. She was the first Black female editor in fiction at Random House in New York City. And this was in the late 60s. And then she started publishing her own books in the 70s and 80s. And some of the books are called The Bluest Eye. I think there's one called Sula. I think it's
Sula's a really good one.
Yeah, Song of Solomon. And then, of course, Beloved, which is it's beloved.
Yeah. It's a good book.
Yeah.
It's a tough read, though.
Yeah, it's not an easy read. And it's not an easy watch if you've seen the movie. The book was a bestseller for 25 weeks. It won the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction, which I already said. Won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1993. She won the National Endowment for the Humanities in 1996. She won the National Book Foundation Medal of Distinguished Contribution to American Letters. That just rolls off the tongue. She taught creative writing at Princeton. She got an honorary doctorate at Oxford. She's done some shit. She's been a guest curator at the Louvre in Paris. She wrote children's books with her son. Oh my God, what was his name? I forget her son's name. I'm so sorry, but he passed away. He was only 45 years old. Fuck cancer.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was so sad. She published books with him. In 2012, she got the Presidential Medal of Freedom from Barack Obama. In August 2012, Oberlin College they started something called the Toni Morrison Society, and it's like a whole literary society that researches her work and talks about her work because she has written a lot of amazing shit. She was inducted in the National Women's Hall of Fame.
Alexa, stop. My Alexa just hops on every once in a while. Sorry.
Alexa's got shit to say. There's a documentary about her, by the way, on Netflix if you want to watch it, called Toni Morrison, The Pieces I Am. But I want to say, so in 2006, the New York Times Book Review put out this article that was like the best work of American fiction of the past 25 years. And Beloved was picked as the #1 book. And one of the critics, A.O. Scott, wrote about Beloved, and I thought this was a good way to end this. He said, any other outcome would have been startling since Morrison's novel has inserted itself in the American canon more completely than any of its potential rivals. With remarkable speed, Beloved has, less than 20 years after its publication, become a staple of the college literary curriculum, which is to say it's a classic. Its triumph is commensurate, yes, with its ambition, since it was Morrison's intention in writing it. Sorry, everybody, I'm stuttering. The triumph is commiserate with its ambition, since it was Morrison's intention in writing it precisely to expand the range of classic American literature to include, as a living Black woman, the company of dead white males like Faulkner, Hawthorne, and Twain. And I think that she was a very good not a creep antidote to someone like J.D. Salinger that everybody holds up as like the thing we all read in high school, we all read in college, is super studied. And here's Toni Morrison writing fiction from a totally different perspective, and in a short time has written a book that is being studied all around the world in high schools and colleges as well. So that is our non-creep, Toni Morrison. She passed away, y'all. Just I forgot to mention that. Oh my God, I didn't write it down. Hold on. I have it open here. She passed away in August 2019 from pneumonia, if I remember correctly.
But she was amazing.
Yes, from pneumonia. I was right. She was 88 years old. She died in the Bronx. And obviously, Boogie Down Bronx. And, you know, her impact is still very much still here. So
awesome. Thank you, Sonia. I guess that's a lot.
Yeah,
we did to take in today.
Yeah, big episode.
Big episode. Thank you all for giving us, the suggestion. All those places I said before, reach out to us. Sometimes we have a harder time finding the non-creep, so feel free to keep sending us those suggestions.
Yes, please.
We love it when you use the Annie Potts gift. We got one from Ghostbusters, or you could just do your own thing.
Yeah, whatever.
Y'all are individuals. Once again, our email is whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. Please be sure to subscribe. Be sure to leave stars or whatever if you feel like it. That'd be amazing. Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on all the social media channels that your heart's desires. If you like the sound of our voices, we also co-host a podcast called Dorking Out, where we dork out about movies of the past and present. And this week we are talking about Saltburn, which was a request. It is streaming on Prime right now. So if you want to watch it and then listen to that episode when it drops this weekend, you should do that because it's going to be a fun one. Where can people find you? Where can people find you, my friend?
You can find me at Brooklyn Margot on Twitter, on TikTok. I have a couple of videos there with Joyce Maynard talking about J.D. Salinger. I'm at Brooklyn Margot for Instagram and Threads. My site, it's Brooklyn Fit Chick for Instagram and Threads. And my site is Brooklyn Fit Chick. This has been a hell of a journey today, Sonia.
Yeah. Yeah, it has. Good one,
everyone. Thank you. Everyone, be safe, be kind. Don't be a creep.
Be a creep. Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.